Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Sam Bankman-Fried found guilty on all 7 criminal fraud counts. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Monday, 6th November 2023. Brought to you in association with our friends at Antillian Group. Details when we return.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty of fraud for his role in the collapse of the now bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. It took a jury just over 4 hours to convict him in one of the biggest financial frauds in history. John Yang discussed the significance of the case with Crystal Kim of Axios. And here's what's next for Sam Bankman-Fried.
FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty for fraud and for his role in the collapse of the now bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. John Yang looks at the significance of this case.
Jeff, it took a jury just over 4 hours to convict Sam Bankman-Fried on one of the biggest financial frauds in history. Investors lost nearly $10 billion. Afterward, federal prosecutor Damian Williams said crooked financiers should take note.
It's a warning, this case, to every single fraudster out there who thinks that they're untouchable or that their crimes are too complex for us to catch, or that they're too powerful for us to prosecute, or that they could try to talk their way out of it when they get caught. Those folks should think again and cut it out. And if they don't, I promise we'll have enough handcuffs for all of them.
The maximum prison time in the 7 charges that Bankman-Fried was convicted of totals 110 years. Crystal Kim is a New York-based crypto reporter for Axios. She covered the 5-week trial. Crystal, the big moment in this trial was when Sam Bankman-Fried took the stand. Always a gamble for a defendant to testify in his own defense. He was on the stand for 3 days. How did he do? Did he help himself or hurt himself?
Well, you're right to say that, former federal prosecutors say that the best thing a defendant can do is to take the witness stand, to explain in their own words what happened and why they're innocent. But I think Sam did more damage than good. He was evasive. He couldn't remember key events or things he said, including congressional testimony, which the prosecution was only too happy to check him on. His behavior only added fuel to the U.S. government's closing statements. They counted it up and found that Sam's memory failed him more than 140 times during the cross-examination.
And the prosecution case, how effective was it in your mind?
Oh, the U.S. government had a solid case against Sam. They had the testimonies of his 3 lieutenants. That's Caroline Ellison, Gary Wong, and Nishad Singh. They all pled guilty. And when they were asked who they committed these crimes with, they pointed the finger at Sam. Not only that, but the prosecution had a mountain of evidence to support what they were saying.
You talk about that mountain of evidence. I read some 6 million emails, Slack messages, other digital messages. And yet this trial for a complex white-collar financial fraud case moved very quickly. It was 11 months between arrest and conviction. How do you think the government was able to sift through all that evidence and present a case so quickly?
I think the testimonies and the cooperation of their 3 key witnesses helped.
What does this mean for the crypto industry?
Well, as you mentioned before, this is what U.S. prosecutors have called one of the biggest financial fraud cases in history. It was a black eye to the industry that FTX, once the 3rd largest crypto exchange in the world, collapsed. That someone has finally been held accountable and, for its collapse, and the people burned in its process should be cathartic for the industry. I think you'll find some folks are taking victory laps.
And what about a potential regulation or laws to regulate the industry? Is this going to give impetus to that?
It may. There are a couple of crypto bills that are in circulation, but we'll see if they see any progress in the months coming.
And this is not the last time that Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be sitting at the defendant's table in a courtroom. Is that right?
Right. Well, Sam was taken into custody, and he will likely stay at Metropolitan Detention Center until his next trial, which is slated for March 11, 2024. This relates to the bank fraud charge and bribing a foreign government official. Though reporters at the trial have been debating whether the case gets dropped before then, given the prosecution's victory yesterday.
Crystal Kim of Axios, thank you very much.
The hunt is on for the first person to ever be convicted in Trinidad and Tobago for human trafficking offences. CNC3's Akash Samaru explains what happened.
Trinidad and Tobago has recorded its first conviction for offences under the Human Trafficking Act.
It was congratulations all around for conviction number 1 since the Trafficking in Persons Act came to be in 2012.
Exciting police work, the way it ought to be, quite frankly.
And now a local bar owner named Anthony Michael Smith faces 15 years in prison for what he did in 2015 to a 16-year-old girl who came to his establishment seeking employment.
The child found herself in various situations where she had to perform sexual intercourse with men and observed Mr. Smith receiving money on her behalf. During the child's ordeal, she suffered beatings, embarrassment, and sexual attacks.
He was 31 during this time, and after being charged on 21 counts under the Human Trafficking Act, Smith was on Thursday convicted on 5 of them in the High Court. Now, the minister called it a delivery of justice, but there's a problem, one big problem. Despite being convicted, the police right now don't know where Anthony Smith is. And that's because despite having appeared during the High Court trial on September 22nd of this year, where he asked for a change of lawyer, Smith never came back.
Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and all arms of law enforcement are now mandated to find him wherever he might be in Trinidad and Tobago, in this region or the world, so that he will pay the price that he must.
Now, the law was designed so the matter could have gone ahead without his presence, but it's important to note that for 880 days, Smith was outfitted with an electronic monitoring bracelet since 2021 as a condition of his bail. So what happened?
On the 24th of September 2023, approximately 6:32 a.m., Mr. Anthony Smith's device sent an alarm to us indicating that there was a trigger on the strap, which indicating there is some sort of interference.
And despite triggering a response from the police, the human trafficker was nowhere to be found. But the National Security Minister believes that this does not tarnish their good work.
The matter of his absconding leaves no stain on the system. The system worked particularly well.
And the minister is hoping the USA takes notice, as right now this country is on their Tier 2 watch list for human trafficking, with criticism being that no one is convicted of these offenses in this country. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pear urged the Caribbean and Africa to forge stronger bonds, particularly in the areas of trade and transportation at the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Guyana. Here is reporter Duplessis of HTS News Force with more.
Philip J. Pear, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, delivered special remarks this week at the opening of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIV 23.
This forum symbolizes a bridge, a vital link, fostering economic and cultural relations between the African continent and the Caribbean region. Our coming together here in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana reflects our shared commitment to building resilient economies and communities for enhanced trade, investment, and cultural exchange. I believe that the theme of this year's forum, Creating a Shared Prosperous Future, is apt and timely. We are here to build on the progress achieved at Active 2022, consolidating our gains and setting a clear and actionable agenda for the future. In the past year, we have made some strides in deepening our engagement with the African continent. The African Export Bank has played a pivotal role in facilitating trade and investment flows between Africa and the Caribbean, offering the financial instruments and support needed to bring our business communities together.
Pierre highlighted the importance of sharing best practices between the Caribbean and Africa and the potential for direct transportation between the regions to help build resilient economies.
St. Lucia is one of the first countries to sign the treaty with the African Export-Import Bank. Looking ahead, St. Lucia is committed to deepening our engagement with Africa, leveraging the opportunities presented by the African Export-Import Bank and other strategic partners. We anticipate significant work in areas such as technology transfer, innovation, sustainable tourism, and the creative industries. In the tourism sector, we envision a future where Africa and the Caribbean are connected through direct air and sea links, enabling travel, cultural exchange, and economic cooperation. This is not a dream, but a tangible goal that we are working diligently to achieve.
The St. Lucia leader called for the two regions to work together to achieve this tangible goal.
My cabinet has mandated that an experienced diplomat prepare for its consideration a comprehensive policy on ways in which we can strengthen our economic and social relationships with the African continent. Meanwhile, St. Lucia is ready to engage other OECS and CARICOM countries with a view to sharing a joint diplomatic presence with countries in the African continent. Addressing the pressing challenge of climate change and advocating for environmental sustainability is at the forefront of our agenda as we engage in research, policy making, and the sharing of green technological innovations. In the area of healthcare and well-being, our regions have much to gain from joint medical research and sharing best practices in public health management.
Active 23, a forum focused on accelerating commercial collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean, was held in Guyana this week. The president of Guyana challenged the regional private sector to collaborate with their African counterparts to develop a consortium to solve perennial challenges, including transportation. He also called for stronger bonds between the two regions based on friendship, love, and prosperity. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
Raquel Porter of TVJ News reports from the courts that the prosecution's fourth witness in a very serious husband and wife murder trial testified that the Portland businessman hired him to douse his wife with acid in 2019.
The witness, who testified that he was convicted of misprision of felony and receiving stolen property in 2023, said he spoke with Mr. MacDonald on 3 occasions, detailing his interactions and the aborted attempt to douse Tonia with acid. The witness said he was introduced to Mr. MacDonald in a car park beside the Portland businessman's supermarket in 2019. Noting that they spoke for about 10 minutes face-to-face, he said Mr. MacDonald complained that his wife was giving him trouble, explaining that she not come home most nights. The witness said at that point, Mr. MacDonald told him that he wanted to get some black acid to dismantle her before giving him $50,000. The man explained to the court that Mr. MacDonald gave him the cash after he told the businessman that he wanted gas money to return to Linstead. His next visit was in May 2019 at the same location. On the second occasion, the witness says Mr. MacDonald showed him an exit route behind the supermarket where he could escape after completing the mission. He said Mr. MacDonald took him to speak with a beautiful lady and indicated to him that she was the one who should be doused with acid. The witness said he then exited the supermarket and entered the parking lot where Mr. MacDonald gave him $60,000 to purchase the acid. A few days after returning to St. Catherine, he said he went to Salt Factory in Spanish Town where one of his friends worked and told him that he wanted to purchase some black acid. He said his friend gave him a black bottle with a golden top containing the acid in exchange for some cash. The witness said about a week later in January 2020, he returned to Portland where he met Mr. McDonald in the parking lot and gave him the bottle. He said BG opened the bottle, tipped the substance onto his hand, grimaced, then smiled and said, "Right stuff." The witness said Mr. McDonald secured the substance and invited him to walk with him because he wanted to show him something. He said the businessman took him to a plaza nearby where Tonya was sitting under a hairdryer. While walking away, the witness said Mr. McDonald told him that he could dose Tonya right there and then. The witness said he asked Mr. McDonald to bring the bottle. Responding to the prosecution on whether he had completed the mission, the witness said, "No, the lady was too beautiful. I couldn't hurt her." But before leaving Portland, the witness said he contacted a cop who had arrested him in St. Mary in relation to a cow, brought him to the supermarket, and showed him the beautiful lady. Raquel Porter, TVJ News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.